everyone. My name is Angela, and I work with Anna in UNSR, Università Vita-Salute San Raffaele, and we work for the International Promotion and Admission Recruitment Office. So today we are here with Kristen, an old friend, I would say, just to give you more information on our university and in particular in our international medical school. UNSR offers a international medical school, which welcomes especially candidates from all over the world. We have students actually from almost every country of the world. Everything is taught in English, and it's a 6-year program, and it's entirely one block. So students start after high school. They just have to have basic requirements, and once they finish, they get licensed to work in Italy. They get the MD title. So before we go into more details, I will just give you a brief presentation of our university. So San Raffaele University was founded in the 90s with 3 schools: psychology, medicine, philosophy, because the idea of the founders was to study man in his body, so medicine, in his thoughts, so philosophy, and so in his soul, philosophy, and thoughts, psychology. After just few years, actually, UNSR managed to become an accredited university and very highly ranked in the national and international ranking. One of its major points is the full integration between research, practical activities, and teaching. In fact, we will see, like in the next slide, how our campus, which is not like a huge campus, integrates not only the buildings where lessons are held, but also the hospital and the research center all together, so that our students can just work and move and learn in 3 different places with 3 different points of view. So these are just some key aspects of why you should come study in UNSR. First of all, because you have internally on campus a scientific institute where scientific research is carried out every day. And we also have San Raffaele Hospital, which is part of the San Donato Group, which is the biggest hospital group in Italy, owning a lot of facilities in the north of Italy, and is recognized at European and international level. We have a campus also for the student experience. We have dorms, we have sport activities, we have cultural clubs. They are both for international and national students. So our community is a really big community, and it's very rich also because medical students actually live a lot on campus, live a lot in the university, live a lot in the hospital, because their activities, their day is full of activity. So that's why a lot of students have a lot of activities to follow on campus as well. The idea of our university is to help students to work on their future career, not just academic, but just to plan their future, to plan what they wish to become as adults. That's why we start from the very beginning to give different options to them. The dimension of the campus, which is small, allows this, especially because the ratio between students and professors, or students and our administrative staff, is very good. So students are, I would say, more followed closely in order to fulfill the goal and reach their objectives. Research is a key point in UNSR. As I was telling you, we have a research center just right on campus. The research center receives a lot of private and national funds, and we have a lot of projects going on, not just on everyday research, we will see some figures later on, but also on new treatment for new diseases, for example, on genetic rare diseases. And last thing, but not less important, we are in Milan. So Milan now in Italy is the place to be, is the most international city in Italy. Since a few years, in the last few years, since the Expo, we have been attracting not just international students, but also international workers and international investors here. And so new activities and above all, new collaboration between among the different offices dealing with international people here in Milan have been developed in order to make life easier for people coming from other countries. Here you can see a map of our campus. It's just a partial map because we have other, this is the main campus. We have other buildings close to this. Here in building 2, you can see the main building where lessons are held. Cascina Melghera is one of our dorms, just so close. Here is the hospital, and here DB1, together with all the other small buildings that you can find here around. These are all the labs of the research center. The San Raffaele Hospital is itself a main point of reference for a lot of people coming in from the south of the country to get cured here. So it's not just the local community, it attracts a lot of people from entire country, both from to get cured through the national system because it has a connection with the national system, but also as with private practices. But why study medicine exactly in our university? Again, first thing for the scientific production that we have. So this is linked to the Scientific Institute, the San Raffaele Scientific Institute. You can see here how the scientific production that we have impact on our on the positioning also of our university. Because the scientific production and how our scientific production is then referred to in other publication is a very important reference point also for international rankings. So as I was saying, it's not just scientific production for normal and basic research activities, but also and especially to develop and test new therapies. So we have more than 1,200 researchers working for us in more than 100 laboratories on campus. And this has a very good effect on our positioning in the international ranking. These are the latest that were published in this specific field from the Time Science. We're first for citation per paper in Italy and 21st in the world, always for the Time Science as young university, and first as best master's degree in medicine as a non-state university, so because we are a private university. As far as the international science is concerned, in our university, we have more than 200 international students so far in all our programs, because the medical school is not the only program offered in English. We have other master's degree and a PhD also in English. On a total number of 3,500 students. So we are expecting international students to always to grow also in the percentage in comparison to the total number of students.
I do have a question. So if you are being considered an international student, is that based on citizenship, or is that where you went to college or high school?
So for the time being, we are taking for granted the categories of the Italian ministry. So the division is done between on the citizenship. So it's EU and non-EU, but it also depends on the on where the candidate live and if the candidate has more than one passport. For example, if the candidate has Italian and Panamese passport, in that case for us it's an EU candidate. Or if he has only, I don't know, US passport, but he has been living in Italy with a permanent permit, or he has been studying in Italy already for some years in another program, in that case he is an EU candidate for us. The main categories are these two, EU and non-EU, with some differences according to this main differences that the ministry does.
Okay.
So let's go and have a closer look at the international MD program curriculum. So we are a single cycle degree. That means that it's a block of 6 years with no stopover. So it's not like the US organization, Bachelor plus Medical School. Once you're in, you are in. It's 6 years. That means that at the end of the 6 years, you get the MD title. You get 360 credits, and we admit students. Each year we admit 110 students. In this case, the quota are divided, so we have 46 EU candidates admitted and 64 non-EU. So we have two different mission tests, as Anna will tell you later on, according to the category a candidate belongs to. The program is basically structured in two parts. We have two clinical years where students study foundation of medicine, mechanism of human diseases. They might have some preclinical rotations, but real mandatory rotations start in year 3 and keep going until year 6. And apart from the core clinical rotation, they also have the clinical medicine research training, elective rotation, licensing rotation in community medicine, and also all the courses which are pertinent to medicine. So all the different organs studied closer. They are divided according to to different topics. Something that might not be interesting for you that live in Panama, but it's important to understand the internationalization of the course itself. It's a mobility opportunity and an agreement we have with the Gulf Medical University in Ashman, because students who study there for 3 years, they can come in year 4 to the MD program to finish then and get the medical degree. This was done thanks to a change in the curriculum. So we made the curriculum meet very high international standard, so that it can be compared to all the most famous medical schools in the world. And then the clinical exposure, and the international experiences. So the clinical exposure, as I was telling you, starts officially in year 3 and goes on until year 6. In year 3, the students start having the first shadowing activities because they follow residents in the wards, mostly in our hospital reference, so in San Raffaele Hospital. Year 4 and year 5, they have tailored activities, so they decide the word they want to attend, either to understand if that topic is interesting for them, or because they already know they want to do that in the future, so they just concentrate on that, or they can decide to have these tailored activities abroad, either back in Panama or in the US or in any other country. Obviously, they have a place granted in our hospital, but if they wish to go abroad, they can also do that. They can choose a location or another hospital, and UNSR will either sign up an agreement with this institution, or it depends on the institution basically, or just have just help the student to apply through the selection process that the institution requires. The last year, students have the additional project. So the last year, the last semester is completely free from any other exam, lesson, so students can concentrate on the thesis. So that they can have the final dissertation between June and July if they are perfectly on time. More activities can be done also during the summertime, during the holiday break, which in Italy is August. So it's the month in which there is no exam, there is no lesson, nothing at all going on. So students can decide just to attend our San Raffaele Hospital or any other hospital or institution in the world. We support the student in the sense they are not getting credits for these activities, but they can actually gain experience and start building up the network they will need in order then to work on the additional project, for example, or for the final thesis or the residency abroad as well. Because residency abroad sometimes, even for example in the States, students to apply for the residency, they need a total amount of weeks already spent in the US. In Canada, it works like this as well. And they might need also reference letters from doctors and professors they met in that institution already. So these activities abroad are very helpful for them. We are also part of the Visiting Student Learning Opportunities Network, which is a network which facilitates global educational mobility So it's a network where students can just look up if they have any activity in any other institution, which is part of the network as well, in the world, which meets their needs. So the world they wish to attend, and in time-wise, if it's fine for their needs. Moreover, we are also part of the Erasmus Plus Internship project, so they can also travel and take some activities abroad, also through the Erasmus plan, the Erasmus project. This is something really, really new that was just done last May. It's a sim lab, so it's a real simulation center in San Raffaele Hospital. So it's a way for students to practice in an extremely realistic, interactive atmosphere, and just to it's an intensive room, intensive care room unit, where they have to deal with a patient in a very critical condition. So the idea behind this lab is not to have students practicing on very delicate situation for the first time on a human being, because the mannequin can cry, actually can die if something goes wrong. So it's very realistic. So this is something that our students are really curious and really wanted to try, because it's something that once they try, I mean, the situation is a very realistic one. So they are sent into an intensive care and in an emergency room, and they have to work on the patient.
Wow. And what year can they start participating with the sim lab? Just out of curiosity.
I think it's not before year 5 or even year 6, because, for example, the emergency medicine is one of the last course they have. Mm-hmm. So definitely not. I would rather say not before year 6, at least to have the hands on the mannequin, because the first need to have the preparation on it. Mm-hmm. So our students usually, when they have the emergency medicine course, it's one of the 2 courses in year 6. They have 1 week in the real emergency room. So they see how it works, but they're not allowed to touch anything. Obviously, they can just watch what is going on. And after that, I think they will be able to just to work on the mannequin, to practice what they've learned.
Excellent.
And so what happens after students graduate from the MD program? So the MD program is recognized by the World Health Organization, the British General Medical Council, and the US, the ECFMG. So our graduate can apply to any medical board in the world, also in the EU, and that means also in Italy or in the UK as well. Obviously, they have to meet the requirements that are requested by that country in which they are applying. Most of the time, it's a matter of being fluent in the language of the country, and taking an exam, or maybe having more clinical rotation in that country before they start actually working as a resident, as in the UK for the Foundation of Medicine. As far as Italy is concerned, they can apply directly. They can take the exam to enter the residency in Italy. The residency exam in Italy is a national one, so all graduates holding an MD, Italian MD title, can apply to it, regardless of the passport. They have to be fluent in Italian, and it's not to be taken for granted that they can enter, that all UNESAR graduates can enter UNESAR residency school, since it all depends on their performance on this exam. But if they perform really well, obviously they can enter the first university of their choice. On this, I can add that the graduate, UNESAR graduate, according to the latest exam that has been done last July, were the best performers in the residency national exam. So were those who actually managed the most to get the residence school of their first choice. We're talking about all MD graduates of all UNESAR university, because we have an Italian track also together with the international track. For those who wish to get into the States, obviously they have to sit the USMLE exams. We have 3 steps, and we don't schedule these steps for the student because each student decides if he or she wishes to take these steps in order to continue to go to the States and when. Because preparing for the steps is really, really hard. And at the same time, most of the time, the students have to also to take the exams in UNSR, they have their core clinical rotation. So we saw different scenarios in our students so far. So some took just step 1 while studying, and then step 2 and step 3 after the graduation. Some decided just to postpone everything after the graduation. So this application for these exams is time spending because you have to study a lot, and money consuming because you have to apply and pay money for the application, but also to travel to the States if they start having like proper interview in person and the clinical case simulations in person as well in the States. What we offer our students in order to practice for this exam is the possibility in year 2, year 3, and year 4 to practice on questions that we have received from the National Board of Medical Exams. They are all questions, so there is no way that you can get the same questions in the real exam. And these questions are on the topic that have been taught in the previous years. So the exam is getting always a little bit longer with the time because you get more questions, and the platform used is the real platform that is used for the real USMLE exam. So you have 72 questions for each question, and you understand how questions work already. So once you get in the real step exam, you already know what the logic behind the question. Students get a certificate just to understand how they performed for each topic. So they know if they have to maybe study a little bit more on some topic. And on the faculty side, we know if the teaching we had, so the content taught are good in order for the student to be prepared for the USMLE exam. In year 5, between year 5 and year 6, we offer for free the student the possibility to take the IFOM examination. This is the International Foundation of Medicine, which sometimes can be a substitution to the step 1 for some institutions in the States, because the IFOM examination gives a real projection of the step 1 grade that they will get. So we always advise students to take this IFOM examination. It's a real exam, so they will get a proper certificate. And in this case, they have to study for it. We don't ask students to study for the other simulations, but for this, we do ask them, because that grade they get might be useful for them just to keep studying, to apply for core clinical rotations afterwards. I would rather stop here just for the introduction on the MD program. If you, Kristen, have questions on this topics, just feel free to ask now. Otherwise, I will just give the word to Anna to talk more about the admission process.
Yes, no, I know of course I have lots of admission questions, but this was a really great overview, and you can definitely tell how well supported you are too as a student, at least from what I'm sensing of what the solid background is that you're going to have and how you're prepared post-graduation. This is just a tiny question or a detail, but considering if you don't know Italian before you come over and you're taking the program in English, but then you do have an interest in staying in Italy afterwards, and obviously you have to be proficient, are there supplemental language courses, or do you find that students study on their own, or because they are semi-immersed in Milan? I mean, granted, they're kind of in their college bubble too of what they're studying. Obviously, if you're a Spanish speaker too, it's easier in picking up Italian, but to have the grammar and to have the proper Cambridge level too. What has been your experience with that with students after 6 years?
So we don't ask students who start from year 1 to know Italian, because they just have to be fluent in English. What we offer them is a 2-year Italian course, so that at the end of it, we ask obviously to be to attend very regularly. Otherwise, I mean, it's very hard even for the teacher to just progress in the teaching. It's offered to all international students, so that at the end of the 2 years, they can get they can take the exam to get the B2 level of Italian knowledge. It is really important for students to learn Italian, because from year 3 they will stay in the wards. That means they have to understand what is going on between doctors and patients, even if they are not the first person to get in contact with the patient, but they will listen to they will be present at the clinical rounds up in the morning, for example. So it's essential for them to understand Italian in order to have the best from the clinical rounds in Italy. So our international students so far, those who actually were involved, not just about just taking an Italian language course, but were involved in life in Milan with Italian friends. Maybe they were just having other activities in Italian, even sport clubs, because you can speak in English, but you have to understand even Italian, because you can find even someone who doesn't speak English. So the real important thing to learn a language is to dive into the country. So I always suggest students, apart from the lessons, which are just the first step, just to do as much as they can in order to practice Italian, even when they talk with us. So most of our international students too manage to have a proper Italian language knowledge when they finish, when they get to the graduation. Some of them actually applied for the residency in Italy. In that case, they have to have a proper certificate of B2 level in order to apply for the residency, to sign up for the residency exam, and they're doing the residency in Italy. So you have 6 years, and I would rather just to spend all the time you have, your free time, just to enjoy the life in Italy and to learn the language as much as you can.
And if I can do it, they can do it.
I mean, the fact that they speak Spanish already, it's very helpful.
Yeah.
Because it's easier, I think, for them than to learn Italian.
Well, I asked too because I even had a dual citizen. His dad was from Italy, so he grew up speaking Italian. But then his concern was too even if I wanted to study medicine in Italian, I haven't been to school in Italy. I don't know how to write proper grammar. And I mean, that was already having an advantage. So, I mean, granted, 6 years is a really great window. And of course, it depends on the student. But since I know a lot of people are really interested in staying after graduation too, just kind of keeping this in mind of what sort of, support there is. So that's great that there's a course. I was also going to ask you, just kind of the BMA year with letters of recommendation and thinking forward to the future. Just what is normally the professor-student relationship like? Of how, how closely maybe they work alongside, especially, in research and in labs, what the student wants to make it. Is it, because you're part of an international group, they already pretty much know you really well, or, what is the background of the professors too?
So most of our professors are Italian, but they have international experience abroad. So they are familiar with research papers, in writing research paper in English, in teaching English. They take part, in international conferences abroad. We have had the international MD program since 2010. So they might have starting from research until very proper professors. They are chosen because of the international experience. There can be also, if we think about the surgery part, even point of reference on the surgery, on some surgery topic like cardiovascular surgery or whatever it is. We have very important experts, both national and international level, whose name is Italian, but I can tell you they have international experience. We sometimes, and this has been happening more often during the last years, we invite Italians, Italian professors who have been teaching abroad, most of the time in US institution, to have like short some lessons on precise topic because they are expert in that topic. So this is the background of the professor. I think that once the student start the course on that topic, usually what happens is that after some lessons, just the student, if he's interested in that topic, in the first year, just go to the, I don't know, biochemistry professor and ask to be accepted as an extracurricular activity student in his lab. So if the professor thinks that the level reached by students is enough, the student can be involved in some basic research, so you can understand how the research process is brought about in the labs as well. When the clinical courses in year 3 or 4 or 5, they have the clinical courses, it's even easier because apart from the voluntary attendance of work, which is done on personal basis, they have the mandatory work to attend, and they have these windows in which they can choose where to go. So it's even easier for them. I know students from year 4, year 5 that they are like doing the same shift as the residents. So sometimes they have night shift. They go into the operating theater and watch what is going on. They do, they watch when they have basic, not only basic surgery, but also important surgery. So this relationship is done in the classroom. And then the students obviously can get in contact with not only with the person in charge of the course, but also with all the different professors that they meet by email. And for the thesis, the students will have to choose a supervisor and a vice supervisor, let's say, so 2 points of reference for his thesis. So in that case, the communication is a continuous communication between the 3 of them.
Excellent. No, that's great to know. I mean, I understood with teaching being tied with research that obviously it was accessible, but that's great to know that even your first 2 years, you can definitely take advantage of opportunities too if you also request it. So that's really great. Thank you, Angela. I'm sure I'm going to have other questions, but I really appreciate it.
Take notes and we can just have more questions at the end after the admission process.
Okay, so this is my turn. Briefly about our admission process, so we can go on to next slide where we can see a little bit more on admission tests. Okay, so here you can see all, but what is really important, our admission test is not IMAT and is organized twice per year, depending on student nationality. As Angela mentioned before, depending on student nationality, citizenship, student can write a test in one of our testing centers that is located around the world, or in Italy. So European Union candidates mostly writing their test here in Italy. But non-European Union candidates, they have a list of selected test centers locations that they can choose, register themselves to the test completely online, and they can participate in. What more, Angela also mentioned that students with dual citizenship, that one of which is European Union, must apply as European Union candidate. Okay, so in general, our admissions we have 2 admissions, one in spring, one in summer. We have one entrance exam for non-European Union candidates and few for European Union, but this is because if we compare the number of candidates for European Union, we have this year, for example, 700 candidates for 46 places. But for non-European Union, so this is kind of advantage for year students. We have 64 places, but 150 candidates each year. So it's easy to calculate who get in easier. The other thing, our admission, as I mentioned, is not IMAT, and really shortly we have it consists 60 multiple choice questions. Students have about 80 minutes to complete the test. And what we can recommend to students to use our test simulator is an additionally payment service where they can get familiar with test questions, they can evaluate their knowledge, and also we can suggest BMAT sample questions because they are pretty similar to our test. Here I have to highlight that the minimum requirement is to student to have 30 points out of 60, so 50%. If students will not score this 30 points, she or he will not be admitted to EMD program. Okay, so this is the first step. After admission test, we publish our lists of admitted students, and then we ask them to continue with enrollment process. So to be eligible, student must obtain at least 12 years of education, minimum 12 years of education, and a high school diploma. Here, some of students, depending on their high school diploma, they must fulfill some additional requirements. For example, here we have listed IB diploma that student must, honestly, with IB diploma, student can enter without any problem, but with British or US diploma, you can see here that UK diploma, we require students to have 3 A levels. Or with US diploma, student must have 3 APs levels. So if students is not having it, they can they will not be admitted. Otherwise, they can, for example, for example, from US diploma, they can have 2 years of college to fulfill this requirement. Or for UK, they can complete the Cambridge pre-U diploma. So it requires them more time to enter if they are not immediately, like while they are applying, if they are not taking under consideration those requirements, it can take them much more time to enter, to be eligible to this program. Okay, so that's the second part. The third one, obviously, the course is completely taught in English, so student must have a C1 level of English certificate. Here, there are some exceptions. For example, if a student has annotation on their high school diploma that they complete their education completely in English, they can provide us with this document, and then obviously they are not required to hand us this certificate. So students, the general process of admissions take quite time because students, we are publishing the admission call more or less in November on our website. Then students have time till the beginning of March to apply for the first admission test. Here we are speaking about non-European Union candidates. And then after 2 weeks after the test, after having the list of admitted students have time till the end of September to collect all documents like the high school diploma, English certification. Then we are speaking also about the visa and permission that will be done later on in Italy. But all those documents, we are helping students to collect them. If they need any suggestion how to handle it, they can always reach to us. Also, if we also about the requirements, so about being eligible, students who complete the registration through our website, they can count on our double check. So our admission team will review their documents, and they will tell them like if they are eligible, if there is a point to continue with admission process, if they can participate in admission test and go on. So sometimes a student has to evaluate if it's better for him to apply with national diploma, or for example, if they are having 2 diplomas with US, UK, or IB diploma. So all this information students can easily find on our website. But always we are double checking and trying to help them as much as we can. Okay, here very shortly, our admission, our tuition fees are 20,000 per year, and they are obviously divided in three installments. And that's all about admissions. Here, really shortly, I can mention about facilities that we have on our campus. So we have student dorms. Here you can see number of rooms and prices more or less, so you can get familiar with it. One of these, so Cascina Melghera, is located at the campus, so behind our university building, and Cascinella is located about 20 minutes by walk. Also, like Angela mentioned, we have Italian language course dedicated to all international students. We have student activities, but more than that, as I mentioned, we have dedicated offices. So we are helping international students with collecting documents, also while they are studying, with they programmed with whenever they have problem with test, or they need to get in contact with some professor, they can always reach to our dedicated services offices. Also, we have tutoring program offered by upper year students, so they can know more people, they can also study together, and they can ask any advice, any question they have. We have counseling service is also offered for all students, and alumni portal where students can register and connect with all alumni of UniSR. And that's all. So if you have any question, feel free to ask.
Okay, so I have a few. This was really great. So as far as dorms and housing, and then I want to go back a little bit to the admission process, is it guaranteed for first year students? Is there preference given for these 158 rooms, or do students have the option if they also want to live off campus their first year? So I think one of the main questions, Rona, that comes from students and families is, this first year of just getting to know Milan and living in a new city, how, am I going to be shut out of housing? Is it ranked from the test that I took? Am I given priority? And if so, when? Or kind of what are the logistics behind housing or the dorms that are available? Because I saw they're right on campus, which is really nice too.
Okay, so about the dorms, and the student always can decide if they want to apply for the room in dorm, or they want to stay out of the campus. It's up to them. So they are not obliged to stay here. Mm-hmm. And if it's about requesting a room, so we have the call, also like kind of admission call for students who are interested. We are informing students. So there is on base first in. So first, if you request a room and you do it on time, you will be on the list, and then you can be given a room. Obviously, students who are already living in dorms, they are having priority because they are continuing. So we don't want to disturb those students and asking them to move out or anything like that. So they have the priority of choice. Once they confirm if they are staying or not in the dorm, we are having the rest of the rooms available. And then we're asking first year students, not only first year students, but each UniSR student who wants to join our dorms.
Okay, perfect. And then, so can you walk me through the admission test again? So I know it's available in March, right? They have this later where they can start practicing. If they're non-EU, they definitely have an advantage as far as how many spots are open to them. So that's great. They have to meet this minimum required score. And then after that, it's ranked, right, as far as what the results are before you proceed in asking for the extra requirements. Do I have that down okay?
Yeah, exactly. That's how it is.
And then with the worldwide test centers, should they contact the Italian embassy in their country or in the closest country to them to know if it's proctored and where it's proctored? Do they contact you just so they can plan ahead of time if there's a testing center near them? And then obviously with COVID and lockdowns and all this stuff in the mix too, you know, I don't know what happened last year, what happened this year. If you could shed some light on that.
Okay, so really shortly. So once we publish the admission call, they will find all the test location there. So they will know more or less which location are available, where they are located, which country, and go on. Then they can select the most convenient for them. More than that, once they will register themselves through our platform, they will also have to select which one they are interested in. So this is up to students to select. This year, because of COVID, it was a bit different. All students were participating in tests online, so from their home. We don't know how it will go next year. Maybe also next year we will continue with online admission tests. But we have to wait till November to know for certain if which kind of modality of entrance test we'll offer to students.
Okay, yeah, just to have an idea so they also know, should I plan on traveling? You know, what are the logistics behind this? And then going back to that, considering if they are EU citizens, but they have been educated outside of the EU or outside of Italy, should they then plan on coming to Italy to take the test for the 46 places?
Yes, they have to.
Okay, just making sure. So then after that, then we have the supplemental requirements. I think that was really great in knowing, okay, they should plan on taking APs or see what their status is of their diploma, of what's being accepted. And then after that, it seems pretty fluid as far as what the requirements are. I know the big question always is getting over the entrance exam and knowing how to prepare for it, especially. So no, that's great, and knowing about the test simulator too. Okay, wonderful. And then I do have a question with going back to what has happened with lockdown and restrictions. Were there any gaps with how students were continuing their studies, you know, obviously in needing hands-on practice, and just to shed some light on that if you can, Angela.
Yeah, well, the Lombardy region was really hit strongly during the first COVID wave that we had in February, March 2020. Milan as a big city, maybe the biggest city in terms of people not officially residing here, but just working and studying here, has been always seen as a kind of possible real bomb exploding anytime soon. Thanks God, it never happened. And the Lombardy region really worked a lot on the vaccination campaign. And now, I mean, everybody, even young people until 16 can book their vaccine. So for the time being, everybody who wants to get a vaccine can get one. Obviously, for international students in our university, those who were in the years in which they could attend the clinical rotation, so the hospital, they had the vaccination from UNSR. The students, mostly from year 1 and year 2, were not meant yet to attend the clinical rotation. They could book the vaccine if they had already applied for the national system, so if they were part of the national system. So this is a gap that the Lombardy region has in this very moment. I think they're working on it, because it's not just a matter of international students living here, but also international in general who don't have the tessera sanitaria, which is the health service card, because it's needed to book the vaccine. As far as the didactic processes are concerned, all lessons have always been held online. Core clinical clerkship have been I've started again as soon as the hospital was kind of COVID-free, or at least not dangerous, both for patients and for students. So once they got vaccinated, we kept going with a graduation day. So our students had possibility to graduate even either online or in person with few guests. Because it was just few people for student. You can imagine the big party that we used to have for each student, but now it's just few people. But we could. That's the most important thing. Exams were held online as well. I mean, this has been happening until this July. I mean, this will happen until this coming July. We still don't know what is going to happen in September. The main decisions in Italy are taken by a committee of all the chancellors of Italian universities. They meet quite often. They have been meeting quite often lately. In order to understand how to solve the problem in case of a new wave of COVID arriving. What UNSR has done so far in order to allow more students who want to come in person here to attend is to make the campus larger. We have more buildings now close to our main building, our main campus. It's just, 15 minutes walking. That if you compare this with the real big US or UK campus, is nothing. And we have a huge new building with huge classrooms where you have more than one screen in the classroom so that the class can be divided in small groups.
Wow.
So you can see the blackboard, which is an electronic digital blackboard, the main one with the professor, and everything that the professor just writes down, it just sent on the screen, in this different screen in the classroom. So even if 4 students might decide to come, they can get in small groups just behind and just watching a different screen. So the big question would be, we didn't have any big problem with the COVID in terms of going on with the course. So just a 1 week of stop when everything is like, we had the first case. So our IT services were working like crazy 24 hours a day just to develop all the things that we needed. But since then, everything has been fine. We need to understand on a national basis what is going to happen in September. So, and this is linked also to what Anna was saying. We don't know if the tests will be online for non-EU students, or if they will go to the test centers. Just consider that the test now for EU candidates was not held in March, will be held at the end of August, and they have to come here. So it would be in person, not online. Even if we are expecting, just for the MD program, we are expecting like 700 students, EU students. So it's a changing environment still. And let's hope that this fall everything will be calmer. And so but in any case, what we have seen that UNSR, as well as the other universities in Italy, were very fast in organizing up everything that could suit better the new environment. So let's cross fingers that everything will be fine as well, will be better, and we will not have any problematic linked to COVID. Some students, just to be completely, to give you the entire environment, but it's a matter just of 2 students, didn't manage to travel back to Italy. Not for reasons linked to UNSR, because I have a student in India. We have been talking, like every week we talk on Teams, because every time she has the papers to get back to Italy, at the point the Italian minister said, no, from India, there's a ban, you cannot come in. And she should graduate now, this year, so she's trying to understand how to work remotely on the thesis. This is the only more difficult issue, the only issue that I experienced in this months with COVID.
Mm-hmm. But she did have, just to play devil's advocate here, she did have the support if she did want to stay on campus in Italy. It was just a choice to go back home. Because I know that for some students, they had to leave and they didn't have any option. And then that created even more problems in returning.
No, absolutely. For example, our students there was a time in which I think when the pandemic the first phase of the pandemic, which students were not allowed to enter the campus because we needed to. There was no vaccine, so we need to trace them. But I mean, cases were really high in it. So the moment of the lockdown, we were not allowed even to go to the office. We had to work remotely. But students in the dorm were never sent back home.
Okay.
We just told them, please, please, please. I mean, if you wish to leave, to go home, just inform us, because should you need to come back, in that case, you have to quarantine. So we need to know who's coming from, even not just from abroad, even if you decide just to stay with one of your friends or in another region.
Even if I wanted to come.
Exactly. So in that case, but were never sent back home. And every time a student wanted to come back to stay in the dorm, because they have all their belongings there in the room, they just had to inform the dorm staff so that they knew that he or she was coming. And in the 2-week quarantine, they could receive the meals in the dorm. And I mean, in case of any problem, they had the people to contact. So they were not abandoned, absolutely.
Yes, no, but I congratulate you with what you've been able to do during this time period. You know, remembering that this was the primary site in Italy that was on the news. And I think we were all asked a million personal and professional questions, and just being here and experiencing it. So it's admirable what you've been able to do, and of course, valuable work of what the students are doing too. So this is excellent. Thank you. And I see here too, we have a Yes Milano.
Yeah, this was just
fun.
The last thing that I just wanted to highlight for your students, for you guys. Yes Milano is basically a website. It's yesmilano.it. It's a website collecting all the information that can be useful for international students as well, not just about university or the course that you can choose, but above all on leisure activity, in amusing activities for you. So having fun in Milan, have a proper social life in Milan with other students, having an aperitivo in the nice areas of the city, to meet other people of your age, have discounts for just reserved to students, international students. So you can just apply once you are a student in any University of Milan and get this card. You can have access to museums, a lot of different activities. You can also have support from the Yes Milano staff. They have an office in the very center of Milan, close to the Duomo. It's called One Stop Shop, where you can just go there and ask help to get the fiscal code, for the permit, for housing. They even support you if you have a problem with your landlord, in case you signed a contract, you're not happy with it anymore. So they developed a lot. Just imagine that UNISAR offers a lot of support to international students, because we are a private university. There is a lot of administrative persons working for international students. Private university and bigger university, so the ratio is not like this. So that's why the city of Milan also thought about having and organizing up this kind of service. And this service is done thanks to the Chamber of Commerce of Milan, together with all the other offices who work with the international students. So the Immigration Office, Questura, the National Service Office, the ASL, it's called ASL or AST here in Milan, and the Agenzia delle Entrate, who is the office who actually issue the fiscal code, which is this code which is needed for everything in Italy. So everything is centralized, so that the international student, once in Milan, can be helped just in one place. So have a look at the website just to understand more, even on the city. Here now, Milan is really, as I was telling you just at the very beginning of this webinar, is the place to be in Italy. And just walking on the streets, above all now, which starting from tomorrow, apparently, or from Monday, we will not have any kind of restrictions anymore. So no closure time in the evening. So you can have maybe just the disco will be still closed, but you can have a property in a restaurant. You can walk without mask. So in this case, life will start again. And this is the website where you can find the activities you might wish to attend here in Milan.
Wonderful. Yes, we're almost all white.
Yeah. So this is it for the time being. Obviously, we are available to meet your students or their families if they have more questions. If they happen to come to Milan, we can just have a tour of our campus. Just some areas are closed to for people coming from outside, info for us, so we can just have a look from outside of the dorms. But we can have a look on the buildings of the university, and then especially of the campus to see the hospital and the research center.
Perfect. I see they can follow you on social media. They can book a meeting. There's
Absolutely,
websites.
yeah. I put all the different
Email
links
you
there.
directly. Wonderful. Very supportive. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this too.
Thank you, Kristen. So let us know when your students will be able to see this video. And I mean, we will be working throughout the summertime. Either me or Anna will be available for them. Should anyone be interested in this intake, so in taking the exam, the admission test in July, and for anything urgent, just they can call us, whatever. Or for next year, we will definitely organizing also open days, so they will be able to meet professors also. And we will definitely have also online lessons, so they will be able to attend MD lesson online as well.
Wow.
So if they get in contact with us, we can just save their email address, and every time we have an activity like this, they can be informed. But we will definitely inform you as well. So
Perfect. Well, I'll be visiting you soon as well, and thank you again so much.
grazie, Kristen. Thank you. And
Thank you.
Ciao, Angela.
Bye.
Grazie mille.
Bye.
Bye.